Welcome everyone for the live coverage of Starlink Group 12-8 mission launching from Space Coast, that is from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming SpaceX launch with record-breaking booster reflight. If you are tuning for the first time, hi, my name is Dipta Maitra. I'll be your commentator for today's mission launch, and you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
We are super excited bringing you the coverage of SpaceX's 448th overall launch and the 20th Falcon 9 launch of this year. This is also the 435th Falcon 9 launch, and today's launch is the fourth one from the Space Coast, as SpaceX is on its way building their incredible launch cadence for this year. We are waiting for a Falcon 9 at 1:14 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:14 hours UTC from Florida for a southeasterly launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. The Starlink mission 12-8 will launch 21 Starlink satellites, including 13 with direct-to-cell satellites to low Earth orbit. Now, before we dive in, on behalf of AstroYonder team and our awesome moderators, we want to thank all of you joining us for today's broadcast. We are truly grateful to have you all here. Also, a big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for being here today, supporting us as we provide detailed coverage of space launches, complete with extensive stats and thorough insights. We really appreciate you all being here. Before moving on, would like to welcome Fairmate, one of our moderator here. Thanks Fairmate for tuning in, and I hope you are doing well. I guess it's afternoon at your place. But thanks for tuning in, and I hope you will be enjoying the stream. Now moving on, we would love if you guys hop into the chat and let us know where you are tuning in from. Feel free to drop any questions, suggestions as you share your thoughts while we move ahead. Now, just a heads up, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own, so if we face any technical issues, please bear with me. I will do my best to guide you through the upcoming Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in approximately 38 minutes from now. Now let's get into the mission details. As per the launch weather forecast published by 45th Weather Squadron, today's weather for the launch looks promising, with the 20% probability of launch weather constraint violations, specifically the cumulus cloud rule and liftoff winds, with some chances of isolated shower and breezy conditions as well. But the booster recovery weather is having low risk on a scale of low to medium and high. So for the booster recovery, there is no issues. Otherwise, it's a 80% favorable weather conditions for launch anticipated by 45th Weather Squadron. Now let's quickly move on and take a look at today's payload details for Starlink Group 12-8 mission. Just a typical Starlink payload built in Redmond, Washington. Today's payload consists of 21 Starlink version 2 mini satellites, including 13 direct-to-cell satellites. This launch marks the 14th dedicated Starlink launch for this year. Each satellite is equipped with 5 advanced Ku-band phased array antennas, 3 dual-band parabolic antennas which utilizes Ka and E-band, so altogether they are utilizing Ku, Ka and E-bands. And each satellite is equipped with a 52.5 square meter dual solar array with a wingspan of 100 feet. These two solar arrays are also aeroneutral, which means that it enables the satellites to have faster on-orbit maneuvers. Also, each satellite is equipped with a high-capacity battery to provide power to the payloads. Each Starlink satellite features 3 space laser transponders, also known as optical intersatellite links for intercommunications operating at up to 200 Gbps. Usage of ISLs, that is the intersatellite links, are now quite prevalent in the satellite development industry. Almost every satellite is having this feature on them. Now, Starlink satellite make use of argon-fueled Hall effect thrusters for in-orbit maneuvering, which was previously using krypton as a fuel. Now, for the cost effectiveness, SpaceX switched to argon. Today's payload will be deployed in an orbit with an altitude of approximately 291 kilometers and with an inclination of 43 degrees. But the functional orbit will be an altitude of approximately 560 kilometers with the same inclination, that is of 43 degrees. Each version 2 mini satellite weighs approximately 1,763 pounds, which is equivalent to 800 kilograms. Moreover, Starlink satellites use custom-built star tracker for their positioning, altitude determination, and orientation for optimal broadband throughput. Each one is having 4 reaction wheels for precise attitude control. Again, by attitude control, it means the orientation plus a hot spare setup for reliability. Their aluminum flywheel is designed to safely burn up at the end of their useful life. Additionally, they have an onboard autonomous collision avoidance system that uses the US Department of Defense debris tracking database for avoiding collisions with space junks and other spacecrafts autonomously. Now, to understand the importance of the autonomous collision avoidance system, here is a quick context. According to the SpaceX report published last year, Starlink satellite performs nearly 275 collision avoidance maneuvers each day. And in that course of past 6 months, when this report was published, Starlink satellite performed 50,000 collision avoidance maneuvers. So I hope you can understand the significance of this autonomous collision avoidance system. Now, as today's payload consists of, this is a optimization slide during the Starlink 11-8 mission, in which SpaceX launched the record-breaking Starlink satellites for the version 2 variant, which is 27 as of now. And during that mission, they could accomplish that by minimizing the payload weight to 575 kilometers, which is approximately 22% less than than a typical Starlink launch. Now, today's one, as I mentioned, that it is of 800 kilograms, that is 1,763 pounds. So, in that mission, they made it to reduce it to 1,268 pounds, which is 22% less than today's payload. Now, what I was going to mention that as today's payload consists of direct-to-cell satellites, let's talk a little bit of direct-to-cell satellite technology, which is developed by Starlink team. In easy words, it's like having a cell phone tower in space. This technology allows our cell phones to connect directly to the satellites. We do not need to make any changes to our existing LTE phones. It is designed to work with the common LTE standards with absolute no changes to hardware, firmware, or any special apps required. Whether you are on land, lakes, coastal waters, or even in the air, as long as you can see the sky, you can get a signal. We know it provides connectivity in remote regions as it aims zero dead zones around the world, giving you peace of mind when you need it the most. Now, just for a context, SpaceX first launch of 2024 with Starlink Group 7-9 mission, which deployed the first set of 6 Starlink satellites with direct-to-cell capability. And now we are here today registering for its beta testing. It's quite amazing that how fast we are having the hands-on experience of this technology. Now, as I mentioned about the registration of the beta testing, just a reminder, Starlink direct-to-cell satellite phone internet connection started its beta testing back in collaboration with T-Mobile back from January 27th this year. So those who haven't already, go rush and enjoy this amazing tech. I hope you guys will be having a good experience with this. Now, currently SpaceX is targeting a liftoff time for today's launch of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station at 1:14 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:14 hours UTC on Saturday, February 15th. Excuse me. Yes, it's Saturday. I was getting confused that today is Sunday or not. Now let's take a look at the flight record for the booster supporting today's Starlink 12-8 mission, which is the center of attraction for today's launch. Booster with tail number 1067 will be supporting today's mission. Today's booster with tail number 1067 has 25 previous flights in its record, which is the highest number of flights to date for a booster among the booster fleet. The booster previously supported missions like CRS-22, a commercial resupply services to the ISS, SpaceX Crew 3 mission, which marked the maiden flight of Crew Dragon Endurance, and I guess for the Crew 10 it's the same SpaceX Dragon capsule. Now, the next mission supported by the booster was Turksat 5B for Turkey, developed for military and commercial purposes. Again, another SpaceX Crew flight, that is Crew 4, which marked Dragon's fourth NASA's commercial crew operation flight. Then we have another commercial resupply services to the ISS, that is CRS-25. Eutelsat Hotbird 13G. Hotbird is a group of satellite operated by Eutelsat, a French satellite operator. O3B Empower A mission, a communication satellite system owned and operating by SES, which is a major telecommunication operator based in Luxembourg. PSN Satria for Pacific Satellite Nuncitara, also short for PSN, is a private Indonesian satellite telecommunication company. Next one is the Telkomsat Merah Putih 2 for Telkomsat, again an Indonesian multinational telecommunication company. Galileo L13 mission, which is a global navigation satellite system created by European Union through European Space Agency. And the next non-Starlink mission supported by this booster was the Korea Sat 6A, a series of South Korean communication satellites operated by KTSat. Additionally, this booster supporting today's mission also supported 14 Starlink missions. The booster made its debut with the CRS-22 mission from Kennedy Space Center on June 3rd of 2021. So it is quite evident how mature this booster is, with an age of 3 years, 8 months and 2 weeks approximately. But here I would like to point out that the most oldest booster as of now is the booster with tail number 1063, not today's booster, which was launched for the first time on 21st of November back in 2020. Currently its age is 4 years, 2 months, 3 weeks and 4 days to be precise. Now, despite being the oldest booster, it's having only 23 flights, but today's one will be having its 26th flight. Now, the last mission supported by today's booster was the Starlink Group 12-12 from here at Cape on 10th of January this year. The booster's turnaround time as of today is 36 days. Now awaiting its 26th flight, approximately 25 minutes away. Today's booster will be having the 26th consecutive launch from the East Coast, with all previous launches from Pad 39A and Slick 40. And today it will be having its 15th landing on A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship. Again, here is one interesting thing to remind you guys. On its debut flight with CRS-22 mission from Kennedy Space Center, this booster made its landing on, of course, I Still Love You drone ship located in the Atlantic Ocean. So we are quite familiar with the landing on, of course, I Still Love You drone ship, which is now based in the West Coast. But during that initial debut flight of today's booster, it made its landing on, of course, I Still Love You. That time it was located here at the Atlantic Ocean. Now let's take a look at the bar graph showing the number of Falcon 9 launches each year. Before this upcoming launch, SpaceX completed its 19th Falcon 9 launch for this year with the Starlink Group 12-18 mission launch from Cape Canaveral on February 11th. And with today's launch of Starlink 12-8 mission, the bar graph depicts 20 Falcon 9 launches for 2025 as SpaceX gears for another year full of record breakers. Possibly this year we might see around 180 Falcon 9 launches, as Elon tweeted about this previously. Excuse me for my voice being choked out. And as we know, SpaceX completed 100 32 launches of Falcon 9 last year, marking a year with the highest annual launches to date for SpaceX. That is 134 launches in total if we count in more two Falcon Heavy launches last year. Now, if this stream fuels your love for space, please give us a like. It's like fine-tuning the trajectory of our space mission on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification so that you won't miss a single launch update. Now please allow us a couple of seconds to check whether the launch is on time or not and to stay updated. Well, it's on time. Although today SpaceX is not having a broader launch window. Today is of only 1 hour and 1 minute of launch window they are having, so I hope they will be on time. Now, just skipping the pre-launch timeline, it's a typical Falcon 9 launch, which having no other deviations in their pre-launch timeline. So let's just quickly have a look at the trajectory for today's mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station with a batch of 21 Starlink satellites on board for a southeast trajectory heading into low Earth orbit, that is to the 12th shell of second generation Starlink mega constellation, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later leaving Florida's Space Coast. And as we know, it is going to be a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship. And it's a shortfall of Gravitas today, one of the two here on the East Coast supporting today's mission, which means that the first stage booster with tail number 1067 flying for its record-breaking 26th time will be returning heading out to the drone ship for its 26th landing, marking the 98th landing on a shortfall of Gravitas drone ship to date. Now the planned booster recovery is 600 kilometers with estimated fairing recovery approximately 670 kilometers downrange, and the stage 2 debris re-entry will be in the Indian Ocean on the second orbit. Now, as promised earlier, I made these slides for you guys to have a rough idea. Now, what I'm going to say, you guys will be getting to know. With the upcoming Starlink Group 10-12 mission, SpaceX will be targeting that launch no earlier than February 18th, which was previously scheduled for February 17th. Now they delayed it for 1 day. At the same time, that is 23 hours UTC, will be landing the booster off the coast of Bahamas. Now I will be showing that slide, but here is the slide which shows the trajectory for Group 10 launches, which was previously for following the northeast direction. Now this collaboration with the Bahamas, they will be able to launch the Starlink missions and I think any other missions as well for a southeast direction with 53 degrees rather than the northeast, which I just showed you guys previously. So here is the trajectory on your screen, how it compares. Now here is with the yellow mark line, it is for any normal Starlink mission. Now today's one will be like the same for the following that yellow line, but with the Starlink 10-12, now they can land near the coast of Bahamas with this green line on your screen as you see. I hope I could give you a rough idea that how that trajectory will be for the Starlink Group 10-12, and I speculate that for it's not about only the Starlink missions. Now with this collaboration they can land their drone ships for any other SpaceX missions. Well, now this is the stats for drone ships. Currently, we know there are 3 in SpaceX drone ship fleet. Of the 3 drone ships, just read the instructions and A Shortfall of Gravitas are stationed here in Florida. While of course I Still Love You is stationed in California, and we do expect the addition of a 4th drone ship likely this year. We are just 10 minutes away from the webcast to begin. Now, speaking of the fairing recovery, well, just a second, I made a wrong slide to play. That was for the RTLS operations. Speaking of the fairing recovery, the 2 halves of the payload fairings will be recovered slightly farther, approximately 70 kilometers downrange from where the first stage lands on A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship for today. After these fairing halves will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from Atlantic waters. On your screen, you can see how a fairing recovery looks like. The recovery vessel on your screen is Doug performing the recovery operations here at the Atlantic. And it's also being today's supporting recovery vessel, one of the 3 here at the East Coast. Other recovery vessel Bob and Go Cosmos here at the East Coast are awaiting their next assignment. From long, we are not seeing any ongoing like any supporting mission for the Go Cosmos recovery vessel. I guess they're having some modification and refurbishments going on for the Go Cosmos and is staying moored for so long. Now, some of the images you saw in a close-up view for you to understand that how the fairing recovery looks like. Now, we have a request again for you folks. Consider giving this stream a like as your way of boosting us past max Q. It helps us to connect with more space enthusiasts like you, and subscribe and tap the bell icon so that you will never miss an update like a perfectly timed launch window. Now we are getting closer for the to the webcast to begin. Let me just quickly check whether they modified their liftoff time. No, they didn't. So that's quite nice. We are on time. Coming to some stats related to today's mission launch. Today's launch marks 448th SpaceX's overall launch and the 14th dedicated Starlink launch of this year. This is going to be the 435th Falcon 9 launch to date. The record-breaking 26th flight of this particular Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission, with tail number 1067 being in action after 36 days. Today's mission marks 20th Falcon 9 launch and SpaceX's 21st overall launch of 2025. This will be the 380th Falcon booster reflight to date. That is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. This number of 380th Falcon booster reflight is for the whole of Falcon booster family. For the specific Falcon 9 booster reflight, the number I will be saying in a while. Today's launch marks 233rd orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Space Launch Complex 40 and the 288th overall orbital launch from this pad, that is from Slick 40. And with the success of this mission, SpaceX will be having a remarkable 7,950 Starlink satellites, including 492 dedicated direct-to-cell satellites launched to date. Just last year alone, a staggering 1,982 Starlink satellites were launched, despite having mishaps and delays due to weather conditions. So that's a huge number and an incredible achievement. Hopefully, SpaceX can surpass 2,000 launches this year for the Starlink, provided no mishaps and weather conditions comes in between as a hurdle. Although we know here at the East Coast, it's quite obvious that we will be having some weather issues. But let's keep our fingers crossed. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks 364th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. So here is the difference. Today we will be having the 364th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date and the 380th Falcon booster reflight to date. So kindly notice the difference between them. This will be the 98th landing on A Shortfall of Gravitas drone ship, with the 26th landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1067. With this mission's first stage landing, SpaceX will be having their 327th overall drone ship landing, marking 390th Falcon 9 landing to date, and 409th SpaceX overall landing to date. Now, speaking of drone ship landing, here are some of the stats for the drone ship landing prior to today's mission. So this stats for the drone ship is not having the numbers included for today's launch. As I mentioned, today we will be having the 98th landing for on A Shortfall of Gravitas. So other than that, these stats are prior to today's launch. Just to give you a rough idea that how many landings have been made as of now for the drone ships. Now we are just 3 minutes away from the webcast to begin. Let's just quickly wrap up our stats for today's launch, and let's have a look at the stats for SpaceX launches for this year, including today's mission. With today's mission, SpaceX will be having the 21st launch of this year, and out of those, 14 are Starlink missions, including today's one, and 6 were non-Starlink missions for commercial and government organizations. 20 reuse booster with this mission. Now, if we look into the geographical distribution, they will be having 14 launches from East Coast, with previous 5 from Launch Complex 39A, that is Kennedy Space Center, and 9 launches with today's mission, that is from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On the West Coast, they have 6 launches from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. So as of now, Space Launch Complex 40 is having the highest number of launches. And 1 launch from Gulf Coast of Starbase back in Texas with the 7th integrated flight test, and 1 super heavy booster catch as of now. SpaceX has applied for an FCC communication license for the upcoming test flight with a start date no earlier than February 24th of this year. So, which suggests that the launch could occur as early as late February or early March, pending the completion of the Flight 7 mishap investigation. Now let's head back to the stats again. For the landings, they will be nailing it for the 19th time this year with 70 drone ship landings, 5 on Of Course I Still Love You, 5 on Just Read the Instructions, and 7 on A Shortfall of Gravitas, including one from today. For ground landings, landing zone 1 and 2 landing zone 1 and 4 both witnessed one landings each. Now, okay, it's time for the webcast to begin. So let's just move ahead. Let me just quickly set up the webcast for you guys. Adding value to your viewing experience here at AstroYonder is our top priority. If you felt we somewhat achieved that, please consider liking this video. It really helps YouTube's algorithm to bring in more space fans and helps others to find out this stream. Also consider subscribing to our channel as we work hard to bring you streams packed with stats, details and insights. We would be incredibly grateful for your support. Now, right now they are playing some music, so I'm not patching in the audio. Let them start the webcast and I will be patching the audio feed for you guys. And meanwhile, let me just give you a little more stats for today's launch. Today is the 32nd orbital launch of this year, and the United States is leading with 22 launches with this upcoming launch, followed by China with 7 launches and 1 launch each by Russia, Japan, and India, marking their debut for orbital launches this year. Now Falcon 9 is scheduled for its 20th launch. I think they will be starting.
Thanks for pressing for Strawberry Retract.
Getting amazing nighttime views. And we heard those call out for the tanks getting pressurized for strong back retract. We are adding a little bit of gas to stiffen up the tank so that the clamp arms can open with a solid structure holding the Falcon 9. Upon opening the arms, we start reclining the strong. Here we go. Now we will be getting some, I guess we will be getting some close-up views where we can see those clamp arms to open up and the strong back reclining about 1.5 degrees away from the Falcon 9. It's a Cape Canaveral flight, or you can say East Coast flight. So here we recline the strong back about 1.5 degrees, but at Vandenberg we recline it about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9. Now, while we are watching this amazing, spectacular views of the Falcon 9, a couple of important steps were completed. The spacecraft team switched to the internal power a few minutes ago, and the fueling of the Falcon 9 first stage is finished, meaning all the RP-1 prop is now on board. We are still loading the liquid oxygen on both the first and second stages, and we will be getting those callouts for their completion. Also, we are chilling the Merlin engines back up from T-7 minutes. The strong back reclining process is a slow process where we have hydraulic actuators at the base of the strong back, which will pull the strong back away. And we do it slowly because I guess
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
although right now we are not getting those close-up views, but those lines are still carrying the liquid oxygen on the second stage, as well as the electrical signals and air conditioning up there in the payload fairing. So we should be making sure that all those lines are easily stretched. For that, the strong back reclining process is done slowly. And we did got the call out that stage 1 LOX load is complete. Now we are waiting for the second stage that will finish up just inside T-minus 2 minutes mark.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And we got the call out. Stage 2 LOX load is complete. All propellants are now on board the Falcon 9 with 1 million pounds of propellant. We are now beginning to vent down the pressure that was in the tubing on the strong back. That's why we can see those clouds coming out there. Sooner we will be getting a call out for ground gas closeout. And there we go. We have that call out. Here we bleed the pressure off, and that cold gas, when it reacts with the moist humid air, which gives us that nice white cloud, an indicator of launch coming up. Next event, T-minus 1 minute, we should hear the call out that Falcon 9 flight computers are in startup and controlling the rocket for the remainder of the countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There we go, right on time. Falcon 9 flight computers on stage 1 and stage 2 are now running the rocket to the last minute of count. Now let's hear to the go callouts.
Launch director, go for launch.
SpaceX launch director giving go for the launch. We are coming up on T-minus 34 seconds. All system continues to remain go for launch of Falcon 9 and Starlink. Now let's just sit back and have this view of Falcon 9 liftoff.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
And we have a successful liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. We got some good callouts. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Sooner we will be getting some more good callouts. We are expecting that for power and telemetry. Right now we are into the throttle bucket. We are throttling down the 9 Merlin engines, preparing for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up. And as today it's a night time, but we got the call out for the power and telemetry being nominal. Next up, the vehicle will be supersonic.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We have exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9. Falcon 9 right now is faster than the speed of sound as we have gone supersonic. Max Q call out there. We are through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle. We have throttled the 9 Merlin engines back up to full power. And Fairmaid, I miss your yay from wrong. So right now we are expecting a call out from MVAC engine chill on the second stage prior to its ignition. Coming up 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on the first stage, that is main engine cutoff. also known as MECO, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage MVAC engine for the first time, also known as SES-1, which will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. So let's sit back and hear to those callouts, enjoying this amazing view from this record-breaking booster with tail number 1067 on its 26th flight.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And there we go. We just got the callouts for all back-to-back milestones. Now I hope we will be getting, yes, we are getting that view that nitrogen thrusters on the first stage is beginning to reorient the first stage. And the flight computers has commanded the hypersonic titanium grid fins to slowly begin deploying. Next up is the fairing separation.
Bearing separation confirmed.
So we got that call out that the fairing has successfully separated. As I was saying at that time, I got like to left over there. Today is a nighttime flight, so
Vehicles are on nominal trajectories.
we won't be able to get some good views like other days in a daytime launch. But yet we are getting the view of the second stage engine, MVAC engine, and we will be getting the views from the first stage, making its way back. So we are now looking right at the view of the second stage on the right hand side of your screen, and the first stage which continues under the force of gravity and steering with the help of the grid fins. The first stage will continue to rise towards the apogee before descending back towards the landing on a shortfall of Gravitas station in the Atlantic Ocean. The second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit with 21 Starlink satellites payload on board. Both the vehicles are on a nominal trajectory. It's a good sign for performance and trajectory for both the stages. Well, Fairmate, thanks for your yay. Was missing that. Really, it makes me happy to see that you are getting normal. I won't be scratching that anymore. Let it be. Just be happy and just provide your yes to us. Now, during this part of the flight, stage 1 relies, during this part of the flight, stage 1 relies solely on its grid fins for steering as it re-enters to Earth. This grid fins for orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry and guide the rocket during its descent. Right now, we are viewing the second stage.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And we got the confirmation that we just lit 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle, as you can see on the bottom left side of your screen from the telemetry as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. And this burn should last just around 28 seconds.
Entry burn shutdown.
And there we go. There's a confirmation of the shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage.
Stage 1 trajectory nominal.
Good call out for the trajectories for the stage 1. And stage 2 FTS has been saved callout, which means the orbital insertion burn is complete. Next callout we are expecting for stage 1 being transonic.
Stage 1 transonic.
And there we go. It means that the Falcon 9 first stage is now traveling slower than the speed of sound as it heads back towards the landing. Speaking of landing, we are just about 60 seconds away from that. Next call out we are expecting for a stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There we go. Great views of that landing burn with that center E9 engine now lit. We are slowing down the vehicle furthermore very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds. Now,
Landing leg deploy.
stage 1 landing leg deployed.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there we have it. We made it to happen for the 390th time for a landing of an orbital class Falcon 9 rocket with this record-breaking 26th flight for a booster to date. Coming up next, we will have the second stage engine cutoff, that is SECO 1, and following that event, the second stage will enter into about 46 minutes of course phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit. Well, we didn't got the call out for the nominal orbit insertion, but rest assured that it occurred as expected. So this call out we were waiting for, but we didn't got. But anyways, today's launch marks SpaceX's 448th successful mission, with the landing marking their 409th success. And of course, today is the another record breaker for SpaceX with the 26th flight for a booster, which is the highest as of now. And with that, we will wrap up our coverage for today. Now, would like to thank all of you joining us. Be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happening in the space industry and updates on upcoming launches. I guess link is provided in the chat section. Finally, and most importantly, want to thank once again all of you for wherever you are watching our live launch coverage. We want to thank you for tuning in to our launch coverage. Can't do this broadcast without your support, and we are grateful for your continued encouragement for everything what we do here at AstroYonder. Hope you enjoyed the stream. We appreciate everyone joining us for today's launch. Wishing you a nice weekend ahead. Would like to thank our moderators joining us, although I didn't saw any other moderator joining us apart from Fairmate. Thanks Fairmate for tuning in, and take care of yourself. We'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the stream. So that's a wrap. This is AstroYonder Live and me Dipta signing off for now, and we will see you next time. See ya.